You know that storytelling is an essential part of any type of public speaking. And we can use it in communication to really connect with people. But although you know that, you shy away from telling stories because it's difficult. It's hard to know how much detail to put in and where should I start and where should I end and how do I find a story that really resonates with the message of the presentation that I'm giving. Well, I'm going to share with you some simple ways that you can tell stories in your next presentation or even when you're having conversations with people. And I'm going to share with you a storytelling formula that will help you to improve your storytelling. And one technique you can use right now to learn to improve that storytelling that will really help you. As we said, storytelling is definitely an essential part of public speaking. Some of the most impactful speakers use stories. It's one of the 4 main hook types that we use when we're trying to get people's attention at the beginning of a presentation. So why is it so scary? Well, like we said in the beginning, it's because it's not as straightforward as just getting into details. We're trying to draw up a picture. We're trying to engage people's minds in what we're saying. And it can be so much more complicated than just diving in with a statistic or using a question. But we really want to work on the art of storytelling because of all of the ways to engage an audience. It's one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful way. People are more likely to remember what you say if you frame it as a story than if you just tell them some random fact or statistic, if I can get the word out. What are the ways to improve in our storytelling? Well, first of all, we need to understand that storytelling needs to be tied to the message. We can't just pick up some random story and try to use it, because when we do that, it doesn't relate to the message that we're giving. It needs to be connected. People need to understand very quickly how that message, that story, connects with the message that you're giving. If it doesn't relate at all, you've wasted time and you've wasted attention. One of the most important things that people do is give you their attention for a brief moment. And so you need to be able to communicate effectively through the story. The best kind of stories to use are ones that have actually happened to you. You can use a story which doesn't come from your life, but there's a lot more setup involved. Whereas if you can say, you don't need to explain, well, Jennifer was 32 and she was living in Colorado and she worked in this career, and you don't have to go into all that detail. People know you generally already, enough about you anyway, and they know they can see a lot about you. A lot of things can be perceived. So when you go, I was at a coffee shop, people can immediately picture you at a coffee shop. So personal stories from your life connect the best if you can find one which is relevant to what you're saying. The story should be impactful. It should have a real reason to be there. Otherwise, it's just fluff that we're putting into our presentation. And the clear point should be made as to how it connects. The great thing about that is you can leave the story, make some of the points of your presentation, and then come back to how the story connects. That creates curiosity. It creates a loop. If you open a loop in a presentation, people have to have that closed. It's like an inherent human trait that they must have a loop closed. That's why people like to close lids and things like that. It's sort of part of our human nature. So using stories can be a really good way to do that. And if we can circle back to how it connects later on, you leave people hanging on the edge of their seat. All of the best stories involve emotion. If you can include emotion, happiness, sadness, worry, pain, these things connect more with an audience than facts and figures and statistics. So using the emotion of the stories, have one which is charged in a way that really gets people's heart involved in what you're saying. And you'll find that to be practically effective as a story and to keeping people's attention on the presentation and the message that you are communicating to them. Now, before I give you the formula that you can use in your next story and the one thing you can try doing today, which will help you to give better stories, if you would like something practical, something you can keep hold of, so that you don't have to keep coming back to this video and finding it, or coming back to this podcast, you can get my storytelling guide, which will walk you through telling effective stories. A lot of the stuff which we're going through is already in there, and it's a PDF download you can keep, so that when you're planning out your next presentation, you can refer to it and get help. Just go to the description down below and you'll find a link there that will take you to my free guide that will help you craft much better stories. So here's a simple story framework. It starts with the situation. You need to frame who and where they are. If it's about you, you need to put yourself in the situation that people can then find out the information from. You need to have a conflict or a problem, something that's going on that will draw people in. Why are you telling this story? What's the problem? And then if you're in a situation and there's a clear problem or a conflict or something's happening, that makes people engaged and intrigued as to what happens. Next, there needs to be the turning point, the point when things turn around. And also you can explain how you got there. Maybe that can be the point. You can have the turning point, but through your presentation, you can explain how you got to the turning point, what you did to turn things around for you. And then the lesson that we learn. So, situation, the problem or conflict, the turning point, and the lessons we can draw from the story. If you include all of those in your presentations, you'll find them to be far more effective than just telling a story that doesn't really relate on any level. Another thing to include or to remember is to keep it simple. If you start telling a story about your round the world trip where you went to every country in the world, people can't relate to that. People have not been necessarily, or not lots of people, have been on round the world trips. You can tell one small story about one trip you took. Or if you can keep it more relevant, local. Maybe you could talk about that experience you had with a barista in a coffee shop, or you could speak about the time you were talking to your partner and a conflict arose over something, or your children. People can experience those in their own lives. They may even have experienced that in their own life and can go, oh, I know exactly what he's talking about. So tying it to something real and simple rather than big and grandiose. The more elaborate we make it, the more disconnected our audience become. If you watch people tell stories, look at comedians. Comedians are great at this. They tell stories to engage an audience, but the stories that the comedian tells are generally things that happen to people in their everyday life. People can go, yes, I know that's happened to me. So we can learn from that in the way we tell stories. This is part of the problem. When it comes to telling stories, we go, oh, it has to be big. It has to be huge. It has to be monumental. No, simple. Keep it simple. Keep it practical. Keep it something that people have experienced in their life and they can go, yeah, me too. Now, I said that I would also share a way for you to start doing this right now. You can practice this every single day. How can you do that? Well, it's all about learning to talk through illustrations. You may not have the opportunities every day to get on a stage and practice storytelling, but you do have opportunities in every conversation you have to try to illustrate your points with a very short story. The better we get at doing this in short, small stories through illustrations, the better we can be at giving a big illustration in a presentation, a big story in our presentations. So practicing small helps us build up to the big presentation. So think about how you can do that. When we talk about illustrations, they are generally only a couple of sentences. It needs to be a tight, compact story that relates to what we're talking about. Practice using illustrations and you'll get better at using story. That's really all I've got for you in this episode. Practicing storytelling is really important. And if you want more help, more practical tips on storytelling, then you can get that download, that PDF download, and then you can use that every time you want to start using stories, or even if when you're practicing your illustrations, you can go over these key points that help you to craft better stories to engage your listeners.